went to Michael's and I got inspired, and then I'm like, oh, look, there's more. So this could be changing and adapting as we go. But I'm here with Jasmin Riser, who I connected with in the Women's Entrepreneur Network group. I think it's been like 2 months now since we have been like, we're going to have this conversation. We finally talked about a month ago, and it's like, we had so much fun talking that it's like, we've got to do this again. So thank you for joining me live. It is so much more fun to have conversations with people than to talk by myself, which I can do, but I have to be super focused. Well, and it's funny, Jasmin, I used to have a radio show when I was in high school. And so it was this little pirate station in this town I grew up in. And it was this community radio station, but it wasn't entirely legal. And so everyone had shows. But it was really, really weird at first. And like, I think that this is very similar because you're talking and it's like, I don't know, is anyone listening out there?
Right. Right. I can see that.
So fast forward 20 years and history has repeated itself.
Right. Now you can do it with other people.
But now there's someone talking to me.
Yes.
So thank you. And so you're in Dallas where it is not 36 degrees, correct?
No, right now it is in the 60s and the high today is supposed to get into the 90s.
Oh, yeah. See, I broke out my flip-flops today at 36 because I'm like, I'm doing it. Right. There's no, like, I'm committed.
Yeah, no. Yesterday it was, our days, we go through seasons daily, actually. Yesterday it was a bit chilly and we had a thunderstorm. So today we're experiencing the mugginess from that. And then on top of that, it's going to get into the 90s. So no, I'm in the house.
You're like, the AC is going to be on.
Exactly. I'm not going outside.
Yeah, I feel like that happened a lot when we lived in Colorado. Not quite to the extremes that Dallas sets, but like very similar. Because it would be like, oh, look, it's snowing this morning. And then it would be like 70 by the afternoon. And it would be like, why did we shovel?
Right.
Because it's all gone. And then it would be like rinse and repeat. So, but yeah, so we talked and we had this really awesome conversation about brand design and how, because what we do blends really nicely together. And it was like, I think that was the initial conversation. It was like, how can we collaborate?
Right.
But tell me, you've had like this really interesting path to get to this place where you are. So how did you get started in this space?
So the way that my journey started with, am I frozen? Because my screen is showing me frozen. Am I frozen?
No, I can see you moving and hear you. Okay. So,
all right. So yes, the way that my journey got started, first off, is I come from a customer service background. So all of the jobs that I've ever had have either been something dealing with customer service or retail. The benefit of those, even though I was not a fan of customer service and retail, the good takeaway from those is you learn how to deal with different types of personalities and different people. And so that is what helps me, with this journey towards my own business and being in business for myself. Because when you're working in customer service and retail, you also have this robotic mentality and tone of voice. And it's hard to be yourself when you're always having someone telling you how to act, how to talk, how to show up. I'm on a phone. These people can't see me. So why is it necessary for me to look a certain way? I get it, like, dress for the job, dress for the position. They can't see me. It's about my voice and what they're listening to. So then, you have them telling you how to act and how to talk to where you become monotonous in tone. You lose your personality because they're telling you how to sound. So going in, and then the takeaway with that and going into your own business and building, because with branding, you have to have a tone, you have to have a voice, you have to have a persona. With taking that into your own business, you have to get out of this robotic monotonous, boring sound. And
Yeah.
so then that's when that imposter syndrome sets in. And you're like, I don't know if I'm capable of doing this because I'm so used to sounding a certain way and having somebody tell me how I'm supposed to sound or how I'm supposed to talk to people that now how am I supposed to do this on my own because I don't have somebody directing my own personality.
And how do I know what I can do? Like, what are the rules? Are there rules?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that was interesting. That was kind of one of the themes of the conference that I was at last week that I
Mm-hmm.
told you, like, I was telling Jasmin earlier, um, like, it was this mindset leap after leap. Like, what is, first of all, my brain is still recovering.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's like, what is possible?
Mm-hmm.
What are the rules, and are they arbitrary, or
Right.
are they like it's your business. You
Exactly.
are responsible for whatever projects you take or don't take, or,
Exactly.
it's like, oh yeah, I set the rules here. I can determine who comes to play at my table.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And that's the
crazy.
scary part in a sense is you now have this wide open range of capabilities and rules that you have to set for yourself now that you have to follow and you don't have to have somebody telling you how to abide by your own rules. Um, and with setting your own rules, that's a whole nother list of responsibilities.
Right? It's a trip. It's
It
such a
is.
trip.
It's fun though. Like, look, I can do what I want to do when I want to do it, how I want to do it. I can show up how I want to show up, how I feel comfortable showing up, not the way somebody's going to tell me to do so. And that is important when it comes to, building your own brand and telling your own brand story because you have to be able to be authentic and original. You have to be able to show your own personality, show up as yourself, run this business, and be this brand now because you're a walking, talking version of your brand. Everywhere you go, you're your
Right.
brand. I have on
Yeah.
pink
And
and
it's like,
blue.
and I think the other thing, like, just to touch on it, is that everywhere you turn, there is someone else telling you how you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like your boss, but it's like you look out there, and whether it's a coach, whether it's someone else who's succeeded, this is how I did it. This is what you
Right.
should do. And
Exactly.
it's like, you don't have to. You
Exactly. You
don't
don't.
have to do it.
At all. And that's why I say you are, and everything you do is a representation of your brand, basically. Like, if you have a bad day, don't show up that way because that's gonna reflect on your brand later. Like, oh, this person got on here and they had this such and such attitude. Don't work with this person for that reason. So everything you do affects how your brand is perceived by your audience. So you have to be careful with how you act. You have to be careful with what you say. But again, don't let trying to please other people hold you back from using your voice the way that you want to use your voice.
Right. Yeah. So how do you help people figure? Well, so I grabbed this book. I think it's backwards on here, but it's
No, I can see it the right way.
okay. Well, I see it backwards, so I'm like, I don't know what other people see, but it's "You Are the Brand." This was one of the
Hmm.
guys who spoke at the conference last week.
Hmm.
And it's like, what can you build this campfire around? What is this idea
Hmm.
that is just so uniquely you
Right.
that you can like continue to get excited and being reinvigorated by it, and it doesn't go stagnant. What can you feel really good about? So how do you help people figure out how to put themselves out there in a way that feels authentic?
Right. Well, see, the way that I like to start off whenever I get ready to build brands is I like to focus solely on the foundation in the beginning, the story, everything about you. I need to know everything about you, where you're coming from, and where you're trying to get to when it comes to this, building your brand. Because your foundation is probably more important than the actual brand in itself, because that's what your brand is going to stand on. You have to have a strong, solid foundation before you should be worrying about visuals and how you're going to look like to other people. You have to make sure that your story makes sense, that it's clear. You have to make sure that your mindset is ready for this new journey that you're getting ready to take on. Because if you show up with this mentality that you can't do it, or you're too afraid to do it, or you need somebody to hold your hand throughout the entire process, you're not going to show up your whole self authentically at all. The whole time that you're on your journey, you're going to have this in the back. You're going to be talking to yourself in your mind, and you're going to be listening to yourself in your mind. And what do we do a lot of the times when we're listening to ourselves in our mind? We're telling ourselves negative things. Hi, kitty.
Math.
We're talking to ourselves in a negative tone most of the time, like, oh goodness, I can't
And
do
there's
this.
things that if you're like, okay, repeat that to your best friend, and you'd be like, I would never. That's a horrible thing. And it's like, then why are you telling yourself?
Exactly. And that's why I say it's important that we talk to ourselves more rather than we listen to ourselves. Talk those positive thoughts into yourself, so that way whenever you do get ready to show up, you can do it authentically, and you can do it as yourself without having to worry about any doubts, any fears. You show up as the light that you are. No matter what type of personality you have, somebody out there is waiting for that personality to show up,
Right.
because it's the same personality that they probably have.
Or it's reminds them of their best friend or something. And I think that's hard to realize, that you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Even if you get along with most people.
Right. And someone's going to resonate.
Who are like, who are you? And and even some relationships that start out really well may or may not continue as you both grow.
Exactly.
And so I think it's, it's really hard to be okay with that. I think you've hit on something here. There's my cat. He's like, he really likes to show up and judge. Like, he stares and he's like, and yes, go on. Or he shows his rear end, and it's like, there's no happy medium.
We'll take it. It's a cat.
It's a cat. And if I like shove him off, he'll be back. So
that's okay. He's fine.
Yeah. This is my brand. I love animals.
Aww.
Animals and children frequently show up on our conversations.
Right. Look, my little tiny assistant is over there in her swing asleep.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was like, good, this is her nap period, so she should give me at least a good 20-25 minutes, I hope.
My kids frequently come in. I don't know if you heard my son earlier. He's like, can I go walk the dog? And it's like, how about you put on clothes?
Oh.
He's home today sick, but yeah, it's like, how about you put on clothes first and then we'll talk.
Oh, wow.
But my 4-year-old is still very proud when she uses the bathroom the way she's supposed to. And so she'll come in and be like, and can I have a lollipop? And it's like, yes, you can. Go get it. But then she won't drop it. She'll be like, I need your help. And it's like, fine. I'm just going to walk off camera while I'm live.
Right.
And get this child a lollipop, because otherwise it's just going to keep going until, because I already promised.
Right. Luckily, most people are parents, so 9 times out of 10, they're going to understand.
They do. And it's, it's funny. Speaking of being authentic, my kids made it onto my website for that very reason. It's like, if people read it all the way through, which some do, some don't, they'll see it's like, by the way, tiny sticky humans may show up. The laughs they add are free of charge, or something like that. It just adds to the experience, because it's so true. Like, they are here. And I think, before the pandemic, it was like, if it was going to be a deal breaker to someone, it was like, sorry, but we are not a fit if this is going to bother you to the point, because they will show up.
Right.
It's a matter of when, not if.
Exactly.
So that's really important to me, that people are aware of that. But similarly, and it like, I always kick off the conversation, oh, my kids are home, you might hear elephants stomping and trumpeting, or something that makes it funny, but it's like, oh yeah, okay, so there's no surprises.
Exactly.
But I think since the pandemic too, once it was everyone's reality, people became a whole lot more forgiving. And I hope that that's something that continues, especially as people continue to work from home more.
Right. It's natural.
Yeah. So what, you talked a little bit about your process and figuring out what's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the basis of everything. What does the rest of, and I know there's some differences, whether you are building a brand from scratch, whether you're refining a brand, or whether it's like, so have you ever done any work on this? Maybe you have a brand that's established, but people just haven't codified it in some way.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about, your favorite kinds of projects to work on, or people to work with.
Right. A lot of times, my favorite types of people to work with are people that have similar backgrounds to mine. And when I say similar backgrounds, I mean people that are either getting ready to leave their 9 to 5 to pursue their business full time, or those that have already left their business and now they just need some direction and some clarity, making sure that this is the right move that they're making and how to go about making that move the right way. Now, when you're still working your 9 to 5, it's a side hustle. And so it's a matter of balancing the two and preparing to go full time in your business. Whereas if you've already decided to take the leap and you've already gone full time in your business, now it's just a matter of making sure that you're doing everything the correct way. And those are my favorite types to work with. Either you're still at your 9 to 5 or you've just left your 9 to 5 and you need someone to help you take the right path, basically.
He's like, can I have a granola bar? Why do I have to wait for eating? So I am paying attention, but it's like,
yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, well, I think you've said some really interesting things there. So, what really struck me is everyone who has built a business and worked a 9 to 5 at the same time, because that is really hard to do.
It is.
Even when I was only working, and I was a contractor for someone else, so I was already working at home. I was already doing some of the same kinds of client management that I do in my own business. But even as I was winding that down and knew I was going in full time, I had no idea what I was doing. I had 2 months ago, I was like, I don't know, what am I going to do? Because I didn't realize that I'd been copywriting for 15 years. So, I think that that's even more important to have someone like you in the corner if you're trying to build this, because you need that strategy, you need that direction. And you're not telling them what to do. Like, this is the path that you have to do, but it's like, here are the things you should be thinking about.
Exactly.
So because it is so hard to find those, whether it's 10 hours a week, whether it's 20 hours a week, if you have young kids.
Yes, a family.
And how to maintain those boundaries. So I think that's really instrumental. And you're like, this is how you can show up. What feels right to you?
Exactly.
And
it can be, whenever you're working on your business while you still have your 9 to 5, it is hard, because I was doing that while I was working at my last 9 to 5. I was in the background at my job. I would be taking my lunch breaks just to have consultation calls. I would sit in my car and sketch out logo ideas for clients. I'm sitting at my desk working on my website. While in the midst of doing that, I'm answering calls and talking to other people. It's like I'm trying to balance this, because I want to make sure that whenever I do leave here, I am ready and I'm prepared for this transition. And that's what I want to help other 9 to 5ers do. But the difference is, I want to help them comfortably and confidently transition into their business, rather than just leaping out into the unknown, afraid. You're going to be afraid regardless, but I want to help them, have that confidence and courage whenever they do get ready to do it.
Well, and I think that's really interesting, because, first of all, I think that's amazing. I think that's such a cool mission. And we'll talk more about like how people can partner with you on these projects so that they do feel confident moving into things. But someone said to me, and having been the person who was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't do this anymore. This is not working for me. It was like, I wish that I had known. And there's this mindset blocks around spending money. It's like, well, I'm not making money, so how can I spend it? But making that investment into a brand strategist, I think, will start you out further forward. And it may be the brand that you stick with for a couple of years. It may be your brand forever.
Right.
But like just having something to start with is instrumental. But someone recently told me, and I can't remember who, and I'd like to attribute it to them, but I'm just like, I don't know who said that. It's like, if you're 100% ready, you waited too long. Because it's like you have to have that little fear and that little risk, because otherwise, how will you continue to grow and find out what's possible? How will you even know what the boundaries are and what this could look like?
Exactly.
If you don't take a chance on yourself in some way, because nothing's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have to be 100% ready. Just as long as you are preparing and prepared, that's enough.
Yeah.
Because
and we all fail. Like,
yeah, most definitely.
A friend of mine, her name is Jill Angie. She was recently posting. She's like, entrepreneurship is just enough success to keep you motivated to go forward, and then the rest is failure. But it's all learning opportunities. And it's like, well, that didn't work. Is it because of something I did? Was the timing wrong? Do I need to learn a better way to do it? And I think that's the other side of this, is having that, being prepared for taking the leap, but being prepared for when it doesn't go the way you think it will. And that's okay. Because I hate to see people quit. Well, it's like, well, that didn't work. It's like, well, what did you actually do to try it? It's like, did you look at this? Oh, well, would you do it the same way again, but next time? It's like, oh, well, maybe not.
Sometimes
so it's like when you learn something and you're
you got to reassess what you did, so that way you can either grow from it. You can either grow from
words.
Right. Like, reassess what you did. And that's how you're going to learn what your next step is going to be. Because you're either going to grow from it or you're going to run from it, basically. And you can't let one little minor setback make you completely quit, because you're going to entrepreneurship is full of setbacks.
It's full of setbacks. It's full of like, I'm going to burn it all down. And
yes. There's been plenty of times where I wanted to push this computer off of this desk, throw it out the window, pour some water on it, and just say, forget it. But
we didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we're all here because of it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's a part of the growth, and that's a part of the journey. You're going to have trials. You're going to have tribulations. You're going to have struggles. That imposter syndrome and those fears are always going to come back up. No matter how far along you are in your business, it's going to come back some kind of way.
It's crazy. It's like every level comes with new struggles.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And some of them are the same ones.
Exactly. It's just
the same mindset blocks. Yeah.
And it's just a matter of whatever level you've gotten to, it's going to be a little bit bigger, basically. And so now you have to re-tackle what you've already thought that you had gotten through, but now you have to go through it again. And, that's going to go back to your mindset. And you cannot let it take a hold of your mind. You have to basically beat your own mindset at that point. Okay.
Yes. Absolutely.
Here we go again.
All right, brain. And I find myself, if I take the gut reaction, I would have probably quit 100 times over for the last 3 years. But it's like, by sleeping on it, it's like, oh, okay. Maybe this person isn't my ideal client. I can go find someone who is, because they are out there and they are looking.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So how can people find you?
Well, I am on LinkedIn as Jasmin Riser. I am on Instagram at J_Janae Design Co. And I am on Facebook as Janae Design Co. LLC. Also, I have my website, jjanaebranding.com.
And that is in the description of this live broadcast. And I'll go ahead and make sure that the other links are all in there as well in the comments to bump this afterwards. But now that we know where they can find you, how can people interested in working with you, what does that process look like?
So all you have to do is, if you are interested in working with me and you are ready to start building the foundation of your brand, all you have to do is go on my website. There's a button at the very top that says book your call. hop on a call with me. We get on a Zoom call. I was doing an application process, but right now I'm doing away with the application process because I don't want anyone to feel rejected. So what
Yeah.
we're going to do is I want you to just hop on a call with me. Come as you are. Do not worry about looking a certain way. If you have on a hair wrap, bonnet, pajamas, anything, come as you are. I want to talk to the real you. I don't want to talk to this person, faking to be somebody else. Come as you are. Um, Also, you are more than welcome to, if you find my Instagram, you can go on there. You can shoot me a DM. I am not opposed to having you hop in my DMs and shoot me a message. Conversation is life. So hop in my inbox. Let's talk about it. If you already have a brand and you are thinking you want to rebrand, but you're not 100% sure, what I am now currently offering is the mini brand booster sessions. And with that, what we can do is, it's kind of like a revamped version of a brand audit, except the difference is I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. We're going to look at what you currently have and we're going to reassess. We are going to reassure. We are going to realign and we are going to reapply all of the things necessary to make sure that this next step is either necessary or you just need to refresh it.
Maybe a couple of tweaks, or it's an overhaul.
Exactly. That's all that it
Use a
is.
coat of paint.
Right. You don't
Just
always
freshen it up. Totally.
you don't always need to rebrand. Sometimes you just need to reassess and look at what you currently have and make sure that it's still in alignment with your current goals and mindset and vision overall. And then if you are a 9-to-5er and you are getting ready to take your leap and start your journey, I would absolutely love to have you as well. And you are more than welcome to head over to my website, book your call. They are free.
Perfect.
Book your call as well. And then let's get started on your brand journey. I want to hear your story and I want to help you tell it.
Yes. Oh, well, and I think that's why we get along so well. It's because we both love talking to people. We both love solving problems, and it's just like this cool way that we can help people realize what it is that they want and then show up. So I love these conversations.
Yes, ma'am. Me too.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for your flexibility as I rescheduled things frantically after. I was like, oh, how was that available last week?
Right.
So yeah, and I think, is there, before we sign off here, is there anything else that you wish people knew about brand strategy and what that process looks like, or any misconceptions that you want to?
Right. Oh, brand.
And if that's putting you on the spot, don't even worry about it. But
no.
Yeah.
Good. When it comes to brand strategy, it's all about how you're showing up. And you can't go into building your brand thinking the most important aspect of it is the visuals, your logo, your colors, the font that you're using. That is the least of your concerns when it comes to building your brand. And that's the beauty of having a strategy is once we work on the strategy, you'll realize how much it plays into the visuals later on. If you just jump right into the visual aspect and elements of your brand, you've skipped so many parts to your foundation that it's not gonna stand strong and it won't hold. That is the beauty of the foundation, is it's what's gonna hold up your brand and make it strong. So
there's so much more that goes into it. And I think
so much more.
Even having worked at a branding agency for years, I was like, oh, well, I'm super clear on this. But when I went to go speak about it to someone else, I was not. Right. And so, the gal who did mine originally, I was like a terrible client, and I'll admit that. So I was like, oh, but I don't get it, and I know all this, and it's like, really, I don't, because otherwise I would be able to do this for myself. So,
yes,
but I think doing it for yourself is so hard, and that's why it's really good to have someone like yourself who can reflect it all back at you,
right? Exactly,
and say, I hadn't thought about that.
Exactly. And I get that a lot whenever I'm dealing with a client and we're on the call. I never thought about it that way. I hadn't looked at it that way. That's because you just need somebody else just to put things in perspective for you. It's just like you're talking to your kids, and sometimes it doesn't register with your kid until they hear it from somebody else.
Oh my gosh, or your husband.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. It's like, oh, I thought I knew
like,
this.
hey, honey, you might want to take this morning off the day after this event that we've got, just to like give yourself some time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I don't know how many times I repeated it. And then like 3 days before, hey, I think I'm going to take the morning off. It's like, what a great idea.
Right.
I was talking to my friend and he said, it was like, oh, he's clearly brilliant.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then someone just popped into the comments, and I don't see all the comments with this platform, but they said fresh eyes can be so enlightening. And
yes.
100%, they can see a lot of things that we can't because we're too close to it.
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Jasmin. This has been such a treat, and we'll have to do this again soon.
Yes, we will. I love this. I feel like I can sit here for a while.
And everyone's like, well, what can I talk about? And it's like, literally, if we just want to have 30 minutes conversation about coffee,
right.
we can't.
Look,
it's just about
getting
to know people and showing, oh, I love your mug.
Oh, thank you.
It's about, talking about the things that we do, because I think what's really interesting is I was on a podcast that it's a fairly big it's the Copywriter Club podcast. And so it has more listeners than a lot of the things that I'm doing. And people kept showing up in my DMs and they'd be like, this was so like impactful to me. This really was, I thought this was so cool. And I'd be like, really? That's awesome. Because it's just one of those things that's floating around in my head. I don't realize how much value is out there for other people. And I think that happens a lot to a lot of us because it's just part of what we do.
Exactly. If you love something and you're passionate enough about something, I feel like you can sit there and talk about it all day.
All day.
All day.
I mean, look what we've talked about in 30 minutes and we could keep going. So.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to close things off here. And then stick around, Jasmin. And I had an idea that I wanted to run past you, and I'll see if I can remember it.
Okay.
All right.